I'm Heidi over at Healing Harvest Homestead. I'm going to talk with you about how to blend teas, how to formulate your own teas, how to figure out which herbs to put in there, and I'm going to share two of my favorite tea recipes with you in the process. I'm going to tell you about my highly nutritional bones tea as well as my easy relaxation tea. So let's go ahead and let's just jump into one of these teas. I think I'm going to start with this new relaxation tea. So this relaxation tea contains herbs that are mildly sedative and support your nervous system. And that helps you with anxiety and stress, and it helps you to calm down. The way you want to formulate a tea blend is to think about three things. You need to think about the herbs that you want to use that are your action herbs. Okay, they're going to be your herbs that are going to provide most of the action that you want to have on your body. So in my case, this is point number one. This is a tea formulating triangle. So the primary action herbs should take up about 70 to 80% of your tea blend. And in the case of this recipe, I'm going to use lemon balm and I'm going to use chamomile. And those are going to be my action herbs. And I'll talk about these numbers in just a minute. Now, the secondary action herbs, I don't know if you can see that down here, point number 2 on your triangle. These are going to be your supporting herbs, okay? They're going to be your herbs that, if there's any negative actions up here, they're going to help balance it, or they're going to help support these herbs in having the effect on your body that you want. So I chose rose petals for this one because rose petals are calming and soothing and very good for your heart and your emotions. Now the third, in this section here is 10 to 20% of your formula. Over here on the third point of the triangle, these are your catalyst herbs. These are these are your stimulating herbs that actually help these herbs act better in your body, okay? So this is also 10 to 20% of your formula. A lot of times these catalyst herbs are going to be your aromatic herbs. They're going to be herbs like cinnamon, ginger, peppermint. They're going to have the volatile oils that stimulate your body to action. I'm not talking about caffeine stimulation. I'm just talking about they help get your circulation going, or they help increase the focus and clarity of your mind, things like that. And so for this formulation, I'm going to use ginger, okay? So we've got 5 different herbs here, 4 different herbs, I'm sorry. We've got lemon balm, chamomile, rose petals, and ginger. And now I'm going to talk about the folk herbalist method. So I use the parts method, and that's a folk or traditional way to blend teas. And what that is you're using something called parts. Your part can be any unit of measurement you want. If you only want to make a small amount of tea, like something that'll fit into this pint-sized mason jar, you're going to use a really small part. If you want to make a lot of tea, like if you're selling it, then you're going to use, like maybe you want to fill a gallon jar, then you're going to use a larger part, okay? In the case of what I'm doing here today, I'm going to use a 1/4 cup measure, but I could use any random scoop. It doesn't even have to have a measurement amount to it. So to make this tea, I'm going to use 5 parts of lemon balm. That's my main ingredient for this tea. So you grab my lemon balm here. This is my lemon balm, a wonderful herb, very safe for children. And I'm going to measure out 5 scoops of lemon balm. Okay. And chamomile is my second main herb that I'm using. I love chamomile. It smells so good. Oh gosh, every time I open this jar of chamomile, I'm like, it smells like honey. So I'm going to put in 2 parts of chamomile. I don't usually use a lot of chamomile in my teas, even though I love it so much, because it works really well for me. In fact, if I go out and just taste the flowers that are growing in the yard, I start feeling a little drowsy, like it really acts fast. But so if you need relaxation, chamomile's great. And now my secondary action herb, I'm going to use my rose petals. One caveat about roses. If you purchase your rose petals, I suggest that you buy organic, because roses are one of the most heavily sprayed plants in the whole world, and you do not want pesticides and things. So I've got 1 part or 2 parts of rose petals is what I'm using here. Okay. And another reason I like to use rose petals is they're so pretty. They're really, really pretty in your tea. So, and then I'm going to use 1 part of ginger. These are ginger chips, not powdered ginger. And I get these at Star West Botanicals. But they are going to be my stimulating and activating herb for this blend. And then simply you just mix it up. You mix up your tea blend with your hands. You know, if you're going to be selling your teas, you probably want to, well, you do want to use gloves. Make sure that you've got sanitation practices in place. But this is just for me. So, and look at that. Is that just the most beautiful tea ever? You can find out how to make a perfect cup of tea on my website. There's a couple different articles actually. Let's see, if you go to how to start using herbs, I wrote a whole series. I've got like 12 articles on how to start using herbs, and then put teas. You'll find a really good article there. And then I also have how to make the perfect tea infusion as well. That'll give you directions for how to actually make your herbal tea using loose leaf herbs. So this is my relaxation blend that I just quickly made up using the 3-point formulating system and the 3-point formulating triangle, which is a very common method of formulation for folk herbalists and really any herbalist. So this particular tea recipe is a nutritional tea. And it's a tea that you can drink every single day. It's very, very high in mineral contents and water-soluble vitamins. So this tea is excellent for your health, just in general. If you're dealing with children with growing pains, this is a great tea to give them every day. If you're dealing with, you know, issues with osteoporosis or weakened bones, this is a nice tea just to add a little extra oomph to your health. Okay, so it's really good. So let's go ahead and go through the 3 points again. All right, so my primary action herbs, those are going to be my herbs that are going to contain the chemicals that I want to work on my body for the specific reason that I have. So I'm making this tea specifically for my bone health. So I want herbs with high levels of minerals like calcium and potassium and magnesium and those kinds of minerals. I also want to be sure that these herbs contain higher levels of the water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and the Bs. Okay, so these herbs that I chose are my primary action herbs because they meet those criteria. So I've got nettle, I've got chickweed, or I think I'm actually going to use horsetail because my chickweed is out, and oat straw. All 3 of these herbs, and I'm substituting the horsetail for the chickweed, but all 3 of these, super high in minerals. Horsetail has a super high level of silica, which helps your hair and your fingernails too. Oat straw, besides being very, very high in mineral content and vitamins, it's calming and soothing to your system. It's actually very useful for children as well. Nettle, extremely high in calcium. Okay, so all of these herbs are the ones I chose for the primary actions for this tea, and this is 70%. So I'm going to be using 3 parts of nettle, 2 parts of chickweed, and 2 parts of oat straw. Okay. So that's going to be 70% of my formula. So most of my formula is going to be these really super helpful herbs. And then let's go to the second point on the triangle. These are your supporting herbs. So, all right, so your supporting herbs are going to be herbs that are going to help the action herbs get going, or they're going to soothe any reactions from the action herbs. This is a very safe tea blend, so we're not worrying about that too much, that these might be super powerful and you might have to like calm them. But the secondary herbs, they support these actions, okay? I don't know of another way to say that, but they're there either to add a little bit of emphasis or to help get these herbs going, and I'll talk about that with the herb I'm using here. So in this case, I'm using 20% of my formula is going to be in the 0.2 of my triangle, and I chose peppermint. So peppermint I chose because it also is pretty high in minerals and vitamins, so it's supporting these herbs just because of that fact. And peppermint tastes really good. Peppermint is in here because it helps your digestive system. If you're a person who has difficulty with minerals at all, peppermint's going to help that. Okay, so besides being tasty, I chose peppermint because it has some other uses too. The third point on your triangle are your catalyst herbs. Okay, these are your stimulating herbs. These are going to be your herbs that increase your circulation, or they're going to be very powerful in some aspect in helping the primary and the secondary actions have their effects. Okay, so these are going to often be like I said earlier, your aromatic herbs. Cinnamon, turmeric, ginger. Sometimes I'll use peppermint over here as an activating herb as well, depending on the blend. But these kinds of herbs are going to get that formula going. Cayenne pepper is another good one. I use cayenne pepper on this third point of the triangle. So these are your catalyst herbs, okay? In this case, I'm going to use 1 part of cinnamon. Now, these are usually quite strong tasting as well. So another reason why you only want 10 or 20% of your formula being the catalyst herbs. They're very powerful. So for this blend, 70% of it is those are my nutrient herbs I'm choosing for this. So I've got nettle, and I am going to use 3 parts of nettle. So we're going to use 3 scoops of nettle. I want to say something too really fast about the containers I use. This is a gallon container of nettle. And what I have realized about myself is that if I know that I'm going to use an herb a lot, and nettle is one of the herbs I use a lot. I use it in my cooking. I actually have a jar over here of dried nettle. I throw it in soups and stews because it's so good for you. It's so nutritious. But I will buy it in bulk from Star West Botanicals or from Mountain Rose Herbs. And I get a lot of it because I use it up pretty quickly. So if you start using herbs and you find that you've got favorites that you want to use a lot, consider buying in bulk because you're going to save money. Okay, now this is my horsetail, and I'm going to put in 2 parts of horsetail. You could also substitute with chickweed. Chickweed is wonderful for your skin. It's soothing and also very high mineral content. Here's my horsetail, and then I'm going to put in 2 parts of oat straw. Oat straw is extremely soothing, and it's got a lot of demulcent properties, so it helps your body heal. So if you're dealing with different issues, it's a good one. And besides that, it's very, very high in nutritional value, high in minerals. So these are my primary herbs so far. Okay, that's 3 parts nettle, 2 parts of horsetail, and 2 parts of oat straw. And now I'm going to go down to the second point on my triangle here, and that's my peppermint. So I'm going to add in 2 parts of peppermint. Also, one more thing too, if you grow your own herbs, like we do, and you know that you use a lot of an herb, then you'll want to grow a lot. Added my peppermint, my secondary herb, and then finally my catalyst herb is my cinnamon. So I am going to grab my cinnamon. I ran out of cinnamon last week, so I just ordered this bag. This is a 1-pound bag of cinnamon chips. Now for making teas, I suggest you avoid the powdered tea herbs and get the loose leaf. So let me show you what cinnamon chips look like. They're wonderful. They are little cut and sifted pieces of cinnamon bark, very clean, and they're perfect for your teas, okay? So I'm going to add my cinnamon there, and then I'm going to go ahead and store this in a glass jar as soon as I get done here. So I don't like keeping my bags or my herbs in plastic. And I'm going to blend this up. Once you start working with the herbs a lot, you're going to find that you get an intuitive feel for what kinds of herbs and spices and things you want in your teas, and you're going to be able to whip up a great tea just like that. If you want to learn more about blending teas, I do have a book. Now, this is actually a physical book, but I sell this in my shop. It's an ebook, so it's not very expensive. I think it's like $7 or something, but it's got everything you're going to want to know about creating your herbal teas, along with some of my favorite recipes. I think there's about 20 recipes in here. Some are for flavor and just for enjoyment, and some are for health, and some are for actually specific purposes. One thing I have found happens with people when they start using herbs, they get scared or they get more worried. They're overwhelmed by all the information and they don't know where to start. And I just say, I'm a proponent of just starting. Find an herbalist you trust that blogs or has recipes. Make those recipes. Rosemary Gladstar's book, Medicinal Herbs for Beginners, A Beginner's Guide, is perfect. So that's where you start. You just start playing around with it and experimenting and do a little bit every day. And all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh my gosh, I know all this stuff. Okay, so herbalism is so fun. Plant medicine, I am so blessed by it. And I hope everybody gets to feel this way too. It's amazing.